Welcome back to my series called E-commerce Agency Wisdom, where I'm joined from Benjamin Lang from Shopify. And today we're going to be talking about building company culture when you have a remote team. I think Shopify are one of the most well-known businesses in our industry for having a really strong remote policy and also a very strong company culture. So maybe you could just share some of your insights, what you wish you knew sooner.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, indeed. That's a really dear to my heart topic. Indeed, when it comes to building a strong culture, one of the key elements that I wish I knew before is how important mission is. Right, you need to have a strong mission because when you're in a remote setup, it's really important that you can gather the troops. Right, that you can rally the troop around a topic that makes sense for everyone, that will help them to go through the difficult times, because you'll have difficult times, right? As we all do. So really having a clear mission, something that really resonates well with the full team, has been super, super key for Shopify. But I think it's something that is really transferable. So connecting with the team, connect the people around the mission, making sure that that mission is fully understood, but also translate in the day-to-day activities, right? For Shopify is making commerce better for everyone, right? So having social impact, making sure that we have more entrepreneurs joining the platform. That's something that has to resonate with you somehow, because it gives sense to what you do on a daily basis. Even though you might be working on, setting a deal for an enterprise merchant, you still have the underlying elements that it will help entrepreneurs, it will help make commerce better for everyone, right? So that element is super important. I wish I knew also how important routines are to make better, like a great impact. A few elements there for me. I think you need to agree upon the routines that you have with your team, with the different people around you. That's super important. But as soon as you agreed upon, it should not be negotiable. You should really go within it. You should really make sure that if you have a stand-up call, you should be there, right? The one-to-ones are important. The one-to-ones not something that you should remove. So it's not negotiable. And I think that's really important. It's not negotiable, but it has to be customized somehow. We all start with the thinking process of, I'm going to do my 30 minutes weekly with my direct report. Yeah, potentially you have some direct reports that will require to have 30 minutes. Potentially you have some that will require to have 45, an hour, less. Everyone is different. Potentially it's a bi-weekly, potentially it's a monthly, and you need to adapt to that to make sure that the format fits the intended outcome of that one-to-one. So making sure that you're customizing your routines is super important. And as soon as you have them, you should go with it. You should also leverage in real life moments for key outcome, right? Because we're talking about building a strong culture on a remote setup. Doesn't mean that we are not seeing each other we were seeing each other every now and then. And that's really important. It means also that you have to be intentional on what you do when you're in real life. Potentially the connection, social element of it is a bit more important than what you would have been if you were meeting every day at the office. So being able to index these kind of elements and adjust based on how you feel the team is reacting, how the team is connected, that's really important as well. So key outcome for the in real life moments, leveraging potentially events that you might go to and, coming a day before, spending the time with the team. That time invested is really important to reconnect, re-engage, and also make sure that you're getting shit done. Also, you need to maximize each format of the connection you have. Like we've talked about the one-to-ones, potentially have different formats, but you have also a team setup, right? And the team setup, the remote element, creates disconnection, engagement, disengagement. So you need to be able to pull and push the right way. What I love to do, for instance, on my team meeting is to have a mix of fun, because I think fun is important at work because it opens the mind to being able to talk also about difficult topics, right? It's not just all about performance. It has to be also about something that will connect people, even in a remote setup. So always starting a team meeting with something that is a bit lighter to make sure that people are engaging. It's also about leveraging a format like home site. For instance, if you really have a project that you want to move forward, home site is, everyone connected remotely, but for a few hours where you have a key intended outcome with a specific agenda you're going through. So that's something that puts you out of your day-to-day activity and helps you to take an overview. So that's really important as well, to make sure that team is connected and not just siloed. Indeed, one of the key elements as well is to keep growing, right? And in a remote setup, it's really hard to grow, right? Because you're on the day-to-day activity, you're in front of your laptop, you have your catch up with your manager every now and then, but growth conversations are key there. So what I love personally is to have every 6 weeks, I have like a growth conversation with each one of my team members where we are zooming out and talking about how to build, the right track toward whatever they want to do next. So that's really important to maintain also engagement. One key element there also is one thing that I wish I knew before is how cultural sensitivity is so like more important in a remote setup, right? Because in a remote world, we are only seeing a screen. We're not feeling the people. We're not, and 80% of what we say is not going through our words. It's coming from like who we are, what we express, the tone of voice and things like that. And through the screen, it's harder to capture that. And it's even harder if you have your own cultural bias. So especially in a like international setup, you tend to, project what you believe around what people are saying. So one key element for me is to, level the playing field from the get-go, understanding how the person I'm talking to is loading feedback, for instance. How do they like to interact? Like really trying to understand who they are and, getting to know those key elements around, how they communicate, what is important for them, what is not important for them, what are the, unnegotiable for them. That's really important. Then one key element for me is to be hyper vigilant to your screen. You're missing a lot of clues if you're not looking at your screen. So really looking at the people you're talking to, what we tend to do in those remote setups sometimes is that we're thinking and we're looking outside, we're looking through the window, we're looking,
checking emails.
Yeah, we're checking emails and we're slacking and we're not capturing like potentially a weak signal of someone is engaging or someone being sad about something, or whatever, just human connection. So being super, like for me, one key element is really to look at the screen, look at the people that you have in front of you. And that's something I wish I knew before, because that's a muscle you need to flex. And one other thing I'm trying to do sometimes is just to make a weird face or something weird during a team meeting and see if people are capturing that, they're seeing that. If they're not seeing that, it means that something is off. They're not engaging, right? So, and that can be displayed and translated. If you're having a call with a merchant and you're not looking at him, potentially you miss 50% of what they're telling you without telling, So the remote setup is really important. And if you add that, the cultural sensitivity on top of it, where people could be more direct, for instance, for Dutch people who are in base, for instance, that's, this kind of thing you have to be able to play with. So yeah, that's a bit of the thing I wish I knew before and that I really enjoy on my current work at Shopify.
Yeah, I suppose with the one about looking at the screen, I know that a lot of conversations I have with my agencies that I work with that are remote is that this blank screen thing, and you're presenting to a screen of like no cameras. And the reality is, if you were together in person working as a team, like if you and I were together in person and all of a sudden you were talking to me and I was like this, or I was on my phone, you'd be like, wow, that's so rude, you're not listening. So if you wouldn't do that in person, you shouldn't be doing that online. And I think as a leader, it's important to set the term I like to use is the rules of engagement. When we're in this setting or when it's this type of meeting, the rules are engagement. Unless it's an emergency, the rules are engagement. I need cameras on. I need no distractions, notifications off, and setting those expectations with the team. And I can say from personal experience, because I know that last year you invited me over to London. You had your team get together in London, a strategy workshop for a few days. And it was really clear that even though this team is completely distributed across Europe, that the friendship and the bond and the energy was there. And you took care of the small details. You knew what type of food people liked to eat or what they didn't like to eat, and there was food. Everything was catered for. The refreshments were all there, specific refreshments according to what each person liked. The lunch menu was there. People didn't need to worry about anything, and then you knew exactly when people had to leave. So as you got through the presentation, it was like, okay, this person is leaving in 5 minutes. Can we all say goodbye? And that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's like we're human, right? And it's when we're working on tech, we're working on all those digital elements. But the reality remains that we're humans, and the more we care for humans, the more we can, be more performant collectively. So I think the human element to it is a key element to culture, and the cultural sensitive, but also human sensitive. Let's say, feels super basic, but so important.
Yeah. One question then for me, I was thinking as I was talking, if you could give any advice maybe for hiring, because I feel like that's really, some people are really good at working. I think a certain profile of person works really well remotely. And there's people that working remotely is just they're not set up for success. It's not good for them. So I assume during your hiring process or recruiting process that there's questions that you're asking there to really test, can this person be self-motivated and self-sufficient or not?
Yeah, definitely. Like the hiring process is a bit tough to that extent, right? Like if you're going on a website of Shopify, on career website, you'll see a big display message saying like, if you're not into agility, stop here. Like just click on the previous page, come back to Google. It's not for you. And I think like being super crystal clear on what a run is expected, the fact that Shopify is a moving beast, moving so fast that you need to take energy from it and not losing energy from it. If you're losing energy, it's not for you, but being super strict on the questioning there, but also feeding how people answer. Because if I'm telling you and you're, trying to jump to Shopify and I'm asking you, are you comfortable with agility? Everyone would be, yes, indeed, I've been displaying that in my whole life. But so you need to really drill down to understand at the core with key examples, how people really feels about it. And also how, self-motivated they are. So that's why we not really hiring juniors, if I'm honest, because it's really hard to be discovering the work life and in a remote setup. I think it's really so that's why we tend to recruit more senior folks that are self-driven, proven track record about impacting things by themselves, and the recruitment process is designed around that to be able to validate this.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're going to have a remote team, they have to be self-motivated, self-driven, be able to prioritize, proactive, initiative. Like these are all the things that you would expect that person to have. And as a business becomes more mature, hiring junior people, it's just like the difference between having a newborn baby and having a 12-year-old child. I mean, really, how quickly do you want to get that kid into the soccer team or the sports team? If you're starting from a newborn baby, yes, you can train it from the ground up, but it's going to take a long time before you're going to have that striker.
But sometimes you have really good surprises, right? As well, huh? We should not discredit junior folks. Quite the opposite. But it's just that sometimes with time to impact is a key element in such an agile ecosystem that we are living in, right? So we need time to impact is a key metric, and assessing that time to impact is something really important in the hiring process. Indeed, we are not getting it right every time, but we're really, really, really thorough about that and really precise about that. So yeah, time to impact is key.
Yeah, and it's different roles, right? The kind of roles that you're hiring for, I know that you need somebody who's ready to hit the ground running. There's other roles within Shopify, and I know that they have excellent SOPs and training that you can bring somebody in as more junior and mold them according to the Shopify way. And then I see those people then, I've been in the Shopify industry since 2015, so 10 years now. And I've seen some of those people 6-8 years who are in Shopify who've started from the bottom, and then they're part of the DNA of Shopify now.
I think that part is so important, right? Is to be able to offer growth opportunities for your team members. I think it's in every companies, right? If you feel like you're in the dead end, you will not be engaged, right? So I think the growth element that you mentioned is so important. Yeah, being able to, and we have that concept at Shopify. It's called jungle gym, that you can move from one track to another pretty easily. That's super important because you don't feel constrained by the box you're in. You have access to multiple boxes that you can go toward, and I think that part is creating more engagement, but also more commitment because you know where are the key key expectations to move to the other box. So then you're just like, you have loads of opportunities, and indeed Shopify is doing pretty well currently, so it's creating more opportunities as well. But yeah, that being able to create paths for your team is super important. One of the elements for me, one of my personal philosophy, is that as a manager, my role is to create staircase for my team. It seems a bit weird, but I feel like if you want to go to one floor, we need to create steps to go there. And my role is to create the frame of that staircase to help you create those steps. So we have a growth, perspective, and we know where we're heading. So if you're going to first floor, second floor, whatever, my role is to create the staircase there for you. And I think that element is so key to create engagement within your team, especially in a remote setup.
Yeah, fully agree. I think one of the number one reasons that A players leave companies is lack of clarity on what their career path looks like for the company. If they don't know, if you don't know where you're going, they don't know where they're going with you, and then they're going to find a different vehicle to get them to where they want to go, and that's how you lose good people.
And if you don't know, it's fine as well. That's something we can define together.